My husband, who is 29 years old, and I, who am 20 years old, have been together for 2 years. We met at work, and I was drawn to him because he was patient with everyone. I'm naturally pretty aggressive and stubborn, so his calmness was refreshing. A few months into our relationship, I got pregnant. I had a baby on a living scheduled, but my friend who was supposed to go with me flaked, and I ended up talking to my mom instead. My mom, who has always been kind of a narcissist, convinced me to keep the baby because she wanted a grandchild. Being 18 and still idolizing her, I agreed. I moved in with my then boyfriend, and soon after, we bought a house together right before our son was born. We eloped not long before that. He was wonderful during my pregnancy, kind, patient, and supportive. I had no reason to believe we wouldn't spend the rest of our lives together. But things changed after the baby was born. The first night in the hospital, I let him sleep for 7 hours while I cared for our son. When I asked him to take over, he only handled it for an hour and a half before waking me up again. I got barely 3 hours of sleep. He laid on my hospital bed with our son while I sat in a chair, and somehow he thought that was okay. This set the tone for everything that followed. He's consistently selfish. He always says things like, "Well, you let me do it," as if he doesn't have a mind of his own. It feels like I'm his conscience, and it's exhausting. When we got home from the hospital, he would yell at me for asking him to change diapers, even though I was breastfeeding exclusively. He'd call me lazy for not doing more around the house, even though I was contact napping all day with our newborn. He'd play video games for hours while I was left caring for the baby. I had to beg him to help, and when he did, it was only the chores he liked doing, never what actually needed to be done. Things have somewhat improved. He's a better dad now, but never as a husband. He's still at the same job he had when we met, while I went back to work as a server after my maternity leave. I make more money now, but he still refuses to leave his job because it's his childhood dream, even though it's not enough to support us. We argued about this for over a year before he finally admitted that sometimes you need to let go of dreams to support your family. But now it's harder for him to find a new job in his field. A few months ago, I went to Colombia for 2 weeks with our son and my parents. All I asked of him was to clean the house and get his learner's permit while we were gone. He spent the 2 weeks weeding the yard because that's what he likes to do, and didn't even try to take his learner's test until the last day. He failed and hasn't tried again since. He has 2 chores, doing the dishes and taking out the trash. He never does them on time, and I end up cleaning the entire house while he uses the excuse that he's spending time with the kiddo. It frustrates me because when I was with the baby 24 hours a day, I was labeled lazy for not doing more. Now he's suddenly a good dad because he's spending more time with our son while I work and clean. He's called me horrible names in the past, like a lazy, useless person who won't get a job when I was still on maternity leave. We're Canadian. Now that I'm back at work, things are a little easier, but I'm growing resentful. I'm doing everything, working, cleaning, taking care of our toddler, and while he works more hours than I do, it doesn't feel balanced. I don't want to leave because I'm scared of what it means to be a single mother. I make enough money to pay the mortgage, but I wouldn't have many of the luxuries I have now. My parents are supportive, despite their own issues, so I know I wouldn't be alone. But socially, I feel like having a man by my side gives me some sort of shield. People look down on me less, despite being a young mom, because I'm married. I'm scared of how I'd be treated as a single mother, and what if I want to date again in the future? I know I wouldn't want anything serious right away, but at some point I would want a partner. But who would want me? I'm 20, with a child, working as a server, and with all this baggage. I know I have goals. I'm working toward my paralegal diploma and have plans for myself and my son, but I also know I want companionship in life. But I'm also very well aware single mothers are commonly known as used goods, and I'm worried it would make me unlovable or unwanted. What can I do? How can I fix our relationship? Are my standards too high? Is this just how marriage is? And what if I can't fix it? Will I be alone if I leave? I'm not asking if I'll be ostracized because I know I will be, but I guess I'm asking what others would do in my situation. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. The only problem I have with your post is how you seem to look down on single moms. Get that out of your head. Divorce this guy and move on. You are not seen as better just because you are married to this awful person. If single moms are considered used goods, then so are married women. That's so insulting. Adjust your attitude on that and you will be fine. Comment 2. You're in an hurtful marriage. You have to decide if you are willing to put up with this behavior long term. And letting your son take a front row seat in your hurtful marriage is not right. Personally, I would leave. Being a single mom is difficult, but you can manage. Don't feel trapped because you have a child. You always have a choice. Good luck. Now for the update. A couple of days after my last post, I started to feel the weight of the unresolved issues in my marriage. Like I literally felt it in my bones. I decided to host a small birthday party for our son at my parents' house, hoping to create some joyful atmosphere. I thought, hey, this is a chance for us to be a family, right? Nope. Not with my husband. He seemed totally uninterested in planning or helping. Instead, he opted for a solid day of uninterrupted video gaming in the living room. Real winner here, folks. My parents arrived early to help with decorations and food, which was great because I definitely needed the support. They immediately noticed the tension in the air. My mom gave me that concerned look that said, "What the hell is going on?" But I just shrugged it off. Can't explain this mess in front of my toddler. During the party, my husband showed up late, of course, claiming he lost track of time while gaming. Yeah, right. I was ready to throw him a cake with a side of, "What the hell is your problem?" Guests started to arrive, including my older brother and his pregnant wife. My brother, always the jokester, asked about my husband's lack of involvement, prompting laughter but also a sense of discomfort. It's funny until it's your sister's marriage on the line, right? As the party went on, my husband spent most of his time on his phone, ignoring the festivities. I know, shocker. At one point, I asked him to help with the cake, but he brushed me off, saying he was busy. Busy doing what? Watching other people play video games? Cake time came, and he finally joined us, but made a snarky comment about how all this fuss for a 1-year-old was unnecessary. Really? Try telling that to my kid when he's older. My dad, trying to lighten the mood, cracked a joke. But my husband just rolled his eyes. So hilarious, right? After the party, my parents offered to babysit so my husband and I could have a night out together. God knows we needed it. We went to a nearby restaurant, but he spent most of the dinner scrolling on his phone. I finally snapped and asked him if he could at least pretend to be interested in our marriage. He responded dismissively, saying I was overreacting and should lighten up. So, my feelings don't matter because he's stressed? Got it. A few days later, I overheard him on a video call with his friends, laughing about me, like, how low can you go? They were discussing how I was too uptight and how he needed a break from the whole family thing. I couldn't believe it. I started planning a surprise outing for myself and my son, wanting to enjoy some time without him. We visited a local zoo, and I posted pictures on social media to show we were having fun, with or without him. He noticed the posts and commented sarcastically, asking if I was trying to make him look bad. Mission accomplished, then. At a family dinner, the tension escalated when he brought up the zoo trip, making snide remarks about how I went without him. I calmly pointed out how he had chosen to play video games instead of joining us. Everyone fell silent, sensing the brewing conflict between us. He attempted to deflect by saying everyone should be enjoying life, but I pressed on. I revealed that I was considering taking a break from the relationship. His response? A scoff, suggesting I was being dramatic and overreacting again. Classic. I decided to take a more drastic step and started looking into local apartment listings. Gotta give my kid a better environment. I found a small place that was affordable and contacted the landlord about a viewing. My husband discovered my plans and confronted me, demanding to know what I was doing. I explained that I wanted to create a better environment for myself and our son. In a fit of anger, he accused me of abandoning the family. We had a heated argument, which is basically our love language at this point. I calmly told him that he could either support me or watch me leave. He seemed taken aback, realizing the seriousness of the situation. I finalized the apartment lease and was ready to roll. After moving in, I shared the news with my family, who were super supportive of my decision. I mean, who wouldn't be? My husband reached out, trying to convince me to reconsider, but I stood firm. He had his chance to be a partner, and he blew it. Edit. I appreciate the advice and support. The biggest challenge was dealing with my husband's emotional manipulation. He made me feel guilty for leaving, claiming I was taking our son away from him. My family helped me see through this. I'm focusing on my son and rebuilding my life. Am I the idiot for breaking up with my unemployed boyfriend after his family blamed me for his financial mess? I, a 31-year-old female, have been dating my boyfriend, a 29-year-old male, for 9 months. He was previously married and co-owned a house with his ex. During the time we have dated, I have worked full-time and he has been unemployed. Due to his unemployment, he couldn't afford his house, so he had to sell it, and his truck was repossessed due to lack of payments. He said he had nowhere else to go, and living with his family was not an option at the time. So he moved in with me in the house I was renting, under the agreement that we would split the rent and utilities 50-50 since we were living together. The money he got from selling his house went to paying back his truck repossession, several credit cards, alimony, and he was left with not a lot after everything was paid. But he splurged on trips to the coast, dining out, buying a small car, and all kinds of non-essential accessories for the vehicle, like window tinting, a muffler, an exhaust, a new computer gaming system, and then he was broke. I warned him many times about his excessive spending and that he needed to get a job and income because he was burning through the money he had left and it wouldn't last, especially at his spending rate. He ended up with an injured back during the move and couldn't work, and so his financial contribution to rent and utilities never happened. I stepped up for as long as I financially could, until I was tapped out. Then we had to move. I ended up renting a small single room from a friend, and he had to move in with his grandmother. Now we live about 3 hours apart. His parents and sister don't like me now because they see it as I asked him to move in. And then I lost the rental because I was irresponsible with finances. When his back was injured and he had to be taken to the hospital in an ambulance, I went with him and stayed overnight at the hospital until I had to get back to the house for the movers that were coming and the carpet cleaning company that was arriving. His family called me a selfish person who just left him in the hospital. I told them all that I would be back at the hospital after the movers and carpet cleaning people left in a few hours, but his family continued to call me names. I offered them to come visit their son in the hospital if they were so concerned that their adult child couldn't be left alone, and they said I was crazy because they have to work and can't just drop everything. Now, he has moved in with his family 3 hours away, and I came to visit over the weekend on my days off. I was pretty tired since I drove up after working all day, and I slept in the following morning. His mother said she was disappointed in me, and being an adult means making the right choices, and that I am not being responsible, and if our relationship is going to go the distance, then I'm going to have to think differently. My boyfriend agreed with her and said that I don't think logically, and that he has a lot of thinking to do. I feel so judged by his family, namely his mother, and I feel like my boyfriend is judging me behind my back, too. I feel uncomfortable with his family now, and I don't trust my boyfriend now. I feel hurt, taken for granted, manipulated, and used. My family and friends are telling me to break up with him, but I'm wanting unbiased advice. Not about breaking up, but how do I address his family's treatment and judgment toward me and call my boyfriend out on his two-faced act? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You do not have a family-in-law problem. You have a boyfriend problem. He is either feeding them complete nonsense, and that's why they think you're the irresponsible one, or he's just letting them think it because it's easier than facing his own mistakes. I do not need this answer, but I urge you to sit down and ask yourself, what are you actually getting out of this relationship? It doesn't sound like much. That's why your family and friends want you to free yourself. Comment 2. Here's our unbiased advice. Break up. What kind of relationship are you even trying to save here? He's chosen his family over you. In a way, his mother is right. You're not making the right choices or being responsible about yourself. You're in an unhealthy relationship with a mama's boy who will not change for you. Now for the update, I'm still living in a small room, and it's been a week since my last post. The financial stress is really getting to me. I don't know how much longer I can handle this. One day, my boyfriend calls and asks to meet up to discuss our situation. He says he needs to apologize. So we end up meeting at a diner near my place. Honestly, I didn't have high hopes. He arrives looking all messy and tired, like he just rolled out of bed. It didn't escape me how he used to always dress nicely. He admits he hasn't been able to find work and feels overwhelmed by his family's expectations. He mentions how his mom has been pressuring him to get a stable job and settle down. I can see he's struggling, but I can't help but feel annoyed. He made his choices, and now I'm paying the price. Our conversation shifts to our relationship, and he suggests we should consider moving forward together. In my head, I'm screaming. We can't even move forward with our lives, let alone our relationship. We leave the diner, and he insists on walking me home. He tries to hold my hand, but I pull away and remind him of our current situation and the distance between us. It's hard to get close to someone when you're 3 hours apart. He proposes a weekend trip to his grandma's house to reconnect and clear the air. I reluctantly agree, hoping this might help mend our relationship. I don't know why I keep giving him chances. At his grandma's house, the atmosphere is so awkward. His family is skeptical about my presence. His grandma serves dinner, and his mom makes these snide remarks about me not being supportive. I try to engage, but his family's coldness makes me feel so unwelcome. During dinner, his brother casually mentions how their parents expected him to marry someone else. I'm just sitting there trying not to react. I can't believe his family is talking about this in front of me. After dinner, my boyfriend pulls me aside, frustrated with his family's attitude. He suggests we go for a walk to talk, leaving his family behind. While we're walking, he brings up the idea of getting a joint bank account to manage finances together. He insists it would show commitment, but I point out the financial mess we're in. I mean, seriously? We can't even afford to live together. We return to the house where his mom confronts us about our future plans. He claims we're discussing getting serious, but his mom reacts negatively. She says she doesn't want him to end up with someone who holds him back. He's like, let's leave, but his mom starts causing a scene. We leave quickly, and I feel so embarrassed as we drive back to my place. The next day, I get a text from his brother calling me a bad influence. I can't even believe what I'm reading. My boyfriend tries to reassure me, saying his family is just protective. Protective? More like judgmental. I decide to meet my own family for lunch to vent and seek support. Honestly, I needed it. A week passes and I feel increasingly isolated as my boyfriend spends more time with his family. He invites me to a family barbecue, but I decline. I just feel unwanted and judged. A few days later, I find out through social media that his family is planning a big family event without me. I'm just like, great, more exclusion. My boyfriend calls, trying to persuade me to come, but I stand my ground. We end the call with tension, and I realize we're at a breaking point. A final text arrives from my boyfriend saying he needs space to figure things out. I just don't know what to do anymore. Edit. I made the decision to break up with my boyfriend. After his text about needing space, I realized how much I had been tolerating in this relationship. His mixed signals, lack of support, and family's judgment were too much for me. I deserve better and am focusing on my own happiness. Am I the idiot for walking out on my mom after she tried to introduce her affair partner at a family reunion? Parents have been married for 34 years. My mom left in the middle of the night this week to go be with her ex-college boyfriend. She has been having an affair with him for the last 3 years. She had an affair with this man 20 years ago as well, and my parents got through it after therapy. I never knew about the prior incident 20 years ago until this week. She left my father, who is 61 years old, to tell us 3 children. We are all in our 20s to early 30s. I am really struggling right now, as the day before she left, we had a big extended family wedding on her side, and everything seemed normal. The last text I got in our family group message before she fled was that she loved us and was happy. Everyone made it home safe from the wedding. My dad has known for 2 years, but due to life events, my sibling's wedding, a grandparent's death, and so on, there hasn't been a good time to tell us all together. They have been separated for 2 years, but living in the same home, except when she goes to our family's beach house. My dad could never quite get my mother to grip reality and decide what she wanted in her perfect world. It seems she wanted a 3-person marriage and a relationship with her children. He wanted to tell us about the affair so we didn't hear it from someone else. I think in a perfect world, my mom would have liked us to not have known about the affair. She chose to be with him and has blocked and unblocked myself and my siblings on and off. I told her I will have no relationship with her if he is in her life. She has lied about so many things over the years, spent holidays with him, told us she was seeing our grandma when she was seeing him, and even had my brother unknowingly drop her off at the airport so she could see this man. My parents have a retirement beach home in another state where we spent all our family holidays. My best memories as a child are there, and for the last 3 years, she has been going there in the wintertime and using our family home to have this affair. This man was married for over 20 years and has 2 grown children. This broke up his marriage 2 years ago when his ex-wife found out, and his children have no contact with him. My mom will text me on and off, but there is no ownership of a mistake, just that she struggles with her own inner turmoil and is sorry for being a failure as a mother. If I text her that she needs to choose between us children and him or get some psychological help, she tells me I'm aggressive. I woke up to a text this morning that I'm being mean and she has thought about harming herself. She tells me she loves me, but her actions speak otherwise. She told my sister she doesn't know if she wants to be with him. It seems a lot to blow up your entire world for an "I don't know." She has no friends or family to confide in, and told my sister she's sad she lost her as a friend because she needs someone to talk to. I am really struggling to picture a future without my mom and all the things she won't get to see in my life. Until last Tuesday, I had a very normal family, and there are no divorces in the extended family on either side: aunts, uncles, grandparents. I am in therapy, but would appreciate any guidance from people who have gone through this. Does anyone have a similar situation and guidance on how to move forward? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Seems like she struggles to make decisions, and the rest of you struggle to hold her accountable to them. By leaving and keeping in contact, she gets to have her man and still have the hope of having you as well. I know it's probably not what you want, but you've kind of got to just let her feel the weight of her decision and hope she sorts it out herself. In case it wasn't clear, by that I mean tell her you love her, say your goodbyes, and block her. She chose this path. Let her be an adult and walk it. Comment 2. She knew what she was doing when she ran off to be with that man. She knew her children wouldn't accept her. She raised you. She knows how you think. Be there for your father. She destroyed 2 families with this affair. She is 60 years old, for God's sake. She behaves like a 20-year-old, with a forbidden love. She got to the point of being reunited. She has to run away because the parents don't accept the guy. Now for the update. My mom left my dad for another man, and now she wants to introduce him to the family. Part 2. A few days after the chaos, I got a text from my mom asking to meet up for coffee at this local cafe. I didn't want to, but she kept pushing, so I gave in. When I got there, she looked flustered and nervous, which honestly was not the vibe I was hoping for. She kept talking about how she wanted to fix things with the family, but she didn't know where to start. The first thing she brought up was her new boyfriend. She was all over the place, expressing confusion about her feelings and their relationship. She didn't know if she was in love with him or just infatuated because it was something new. Then she dropped the news. She said she was planning to introduce her boyfriend to the family at some upcoming event. I just couldn't believe it. I got up to leave, and when I did, she tried to grab my arm. It caused a scene in the cafe, and I just wanted to get out of there. A week later, I went to my brother Jake's baby shower. The atmosphere was so awkward. Everyone knew about my mom's situation, but nobody was talking about it. During the cake cutting, I overheard my mom laughing with her boyfriend on a video call. I don't know what got into me, but I just felt this surge of anger. I walked over to the group and confronted my mom about the call. Like, how the heck could she act like everything was normal and happy when she just messed up our entire family? She tried to downplay it, saying it was just a casual chat. I was furious. The next day, I got a call from my sister Kate. She said she couldn't handle our mom's behavior either. We agreed to meet up and talk about our concerns at a diner nearby. At the diner, Kate told me she's been avoiding our mom because things were just too awkward. We both agreed that we needed to confront her together. We decided to plan a family dinner for the next weekend, inviting our mom but not her boyfriend. When the day came, the tension was unreal. It was so hard to make small talk. I could feel everyone else was just waiting for me to say something. So I finally did. I addressed the obvious issue, and my mom got defensive. She claimed she needed support during this time. This is when the family dinner just fell apart. Everyone started shouting, and emotions were spilling over. I couldn't take it anymore, so I stormed out of the house, needing air and space. Later that night, I got a text from my mom saying she wanted to talk and that she'd come over the next day. When she arrived, she seemed more composed and ready to tackle the issues. We sat down, and she admitted that she's been selfish and hasn't thought about how her actions affect everyone, which is a step up from her usual denial. She left looking defeated, but with an understanding of the boundaries we set. Later that evening, Kate and I spent time together, discussing future family plans without our mom. To answer a few questions, my dad was aware of the situation but chose not to attend the family dinner to avoid further tension. The upcoming event my mom wants to bring her boyfriend to is a family reunion planned months in advance. My mom has been slightly more understanding since our talk. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.